kind of people talking about forced characters in comics, forced characters, forced
Oh boy.
diversity. So
Uh-huh.
when you have someone who's reputable, like Neil Adams, stating that back in the 70s, not a lot of artists in the comic book industry knew how to draw black people, and that includes black artists. Mind you, Superman was created in 1938. Between 1938 and the 1970s, look at that gap. And mainstream newsstand comics existed, like I said, in the early 1900s, etc. Neil Adams, who pushed for a black Green Lantern, had to change the original name of John Stewart, which was originally Lincoln Washington.
Okay.
John Stewart's original name was Lincoln Washington, and Neil Adams had the sense to say, he had the awareness to be like, that's a slave name. We cannot
Yep.
allow that shit in the comic book form. So when you have these editorial pushbacks of people trying to make a diverse cast of comics, can you imagine with the current climate that this rages fear on YouTube and social media platforms, can you imagine the reaction if a character like Storm was created now? Can you imagine the headlines? Marvel
Oh man.
creates a black goddess that's an omega level mutant. Oh my god. You know what I'm
Hell yeah.
saying? Or Luke Cage who's bulletproof. Oh, Marvel just created a bulletproof black hero who's a stand for the Black
Pander.
Lives Matter movement. Pandering.
Yep. Yep.
Or Iron Man, Demon in the Bottle storyline, which he was so fucking drunk he needed to go to rehab, and a black man replaces him with Colonel Rhodes. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Oh god, so Iron Man can't do the job anymore because he's drunk, and a black guy replaces him. Like, ugh. So I think what you said before, context. These characters, right, were
Hmm.
created 20, 30, 40 years ago. They've had years and years and years of time to develop into what they are to date. They have a catalog. You know what I'm saying? They were given a proper chance to earn our love and to earn our trust and to earn the likability. Where everything new today is being immediately dismissed and not accepted. Immediately it's pandering. Immediately it's forced.
Hmm.
When you
Yep.
look at it, these characters have been forced. They've been black was fucking forced. It was a forced character. It was a conscious decision by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby to make this character. It was a conscious decision to make John Stewart one of the best Green Lanterns out there. Conscious decision by Neil Adams to make a black Green Lantern. That's forced diversity, according to these guys. But it hits, you know.
No, but just to, I want you to keep that thought. But like, these minority characters are forced, but Cable isn't. Jason Todd isn't.
Right, right. Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Grifter from the fucking Wildcats.
Tell him,
These
man.
ain't forced characters. I'm confused, man. But digress.
I mean, yeah, these characters were consciously made to break the status quo. I mean, even look at a Bishop. Bishop was
Uh huh.
specifically made to fill a void of like, damn, there's no black guy in the fucking X-Men. You know what I'm saying? And this was in the 90s. This is
Huh?
in the 90s, folks. This is not 1980 something. This is not 1970s. This is literally from the X-Men creation to like 1990 something. There was like, damn, there is no black guy on the X-Men roster. We need to make one. And it just so happened that it fucking hit. These guys want to complain about forced diversity and when it was forced pandering. I mean, how can you explain 90% of your character roster as white males? And to quote someone, I heard a quote out there that out of the thousands of characters Marvel or DC creates, or any other publisher, only 5 to 10% of these characters will be a hit. Out of the thousands of these guys, maybe 200 will make the mainstream.
Yep.
Only, and only maybe 50 to 20 of those will get a T-shirt at Walmart or get an animated series or etc. You know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
just basically rolling the dice. Rolling the dice. If you introduce a new character, and it doesn't even matter, so it's no character. If you make a new character that white, is that forced or not? You don't have anything to say then. It's just basically throwing the dice out there and see, hey, this might hit, this may not hit. And if it does, cool. Not, all right, we move on. We try to make another one. Legacy characters being replaced are not new. This is not a new trend in Marvel and DC comics where someone with a huge mantle is replaced with someone else. This has been going on since forever. Are we really gonna
Right.
act like Steve Rogers didn't become No Man and John Walker replaced him as Captain America? Are we gonna act like we would have remembered John Walker if he didn't become U.S. agent? You know what I'm saying? Are we gonna act like are we? It's
Oh,
some serious shit, man. Are we gonna act like
yeah.
Thor wasn't replaced by the character of Thunderstrike in the '90s? Most young motherfuckers don't even know who Thunderstrike is. Beta Ray Bill replaced Thor. So when Jane Foster does it, it's forced. Oh my god, I can't believe they're doing this. Like, get real, yo. Like, are we gonna forget that Spider-Man was replaced by Ben Riley? That Peter
Oh shit.
Parker was gonna replace by his clone back in the '90s, and he
Oh
actually was replaced by his clone in the '90s. But
yeah.
Miles Morales, I don't get the why they replacing Peter Parker? Miles Morales, this is so forced.
It was
Oh,
okay, but it wasn't forced when Peter Parker replaced Peter Parker.
right,
It wasn't
right.
it wasn't forced. Like, bro, you know what I'm saying? Think about Superman in the 90s, man. If we talking about shit being forced, the entire death of Superman was forced. Everything that came after that was forced. All of that was forced. You fucking mean to tell me that Superman being resurrected with a black Superman suit? Now at this point, it's infamous. I'm not gonna say iconic. I'm gonna say the infamous picture of Superman with the black Superman suit with the white S on his chest, with the two guns and the mullet, looking like Frank Castle. That wasn't forced.
That
That
wasn't
that was
forced, man. That was natural character development, according to these fans.
that wasn't forced. So,
So,
oh man,
so you had Cyborg Superman,
yep,
Steel, the
yep,
Eradicator, and whoever else. All these guys
Superboy.
and Superboy. All these characters had full series for a couple months, and then you have Superman come back and basically replace them again and say, "Yeah, I'm back. I'm the original." So you guys
Yeah,
had your 4 or 5 months in the shine, and now I'm just gonna take them. That wasn't forced,
no, that
right?
wasn't forced, bro. Nah, that wasn't
No,
forced.
no,
That was editorial integrity. That's what
right,
that was editorial integrity, man. Like, come on, bro. Like, we could
right.
keep this going. We could really keep going with this, man. Yeah, for real. All right, for real.
Yeah.
We could really keep this whole topic going right now. But it's only forced when people are made to feel uncomfortable about it. Like, nobody cares when it's different circumstances other than that, man. And again, we're speaking to the same thing here. Consistency, objectivity, all of that. Like, yeah, keep going, man. Keep going,
Um.
bro.
So are we gonna act like when Batman got his back broken by Bane, like he wasn't replaced by Azrael back in the
Mm-hmm.
'90s? Are we gonna
Mm-hmm.
act like Nightwing didn't take up the cape and cowl for a certain amount of time as well? We have Bucky. Bucky has been replaced numerous of times, about 4 to 5 times. Bucky, Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes has been replaced by other people for the mantle of Bucky. And we have one of them as a black guy named Lamar Hoskins, who went by the name Battlestar because Bucky was a name that could be interpreted offensive to African Americans. How many motherfuckers know Lamar Hoskins, aka Battlestar, to this day? None.
Yeah,
Nobody
yeah.
remembers this guy, man. Nobody remembers this guy. So it's a hit or miss ordeal, yo. This is nothing new. These guys, it's just tutorial. They just switching it up. They've been doing this since the 80s, 90s, etc. And they're still doing this to this day, except that it's a little bit more of an even playing field. And you have black characters, Hispanic characters, Asian characters now being thrown in the mix to fill these voids of replacing some of the legacy characters for a bit, and then the legacy characters come back. And then these characters that replace them, they can either stand on their own 2 feet and live on, or they just get discarded and forgotten in history,
They,
like
they,
Battlestar.
they, they get rinsed. They get
Yeah,
rinsed.
exactly, exactly. And all these people are saying that Hollywood needs to change and Hollyweird needs to change. And I'm gonna tell you something. No, it's you that needs to change. You
Mm-hmm.
need to change because your level of discomfort is way too high,
Yep.
way too high. When you get unnerved because you see these changes happening, when you roll your eyes at a Miss Marvel comic, when you stroll in the comic book store, it's just surprising me. You have these guys who are comic book aficionados, who don't even go by the comic book history of this is just a simple re- repeat pattern, and these things happen in cycles. And
Right.
I don't understand, how do you not understand that if you're such a comic book aficionado, if you're such a comic book guy, if you're like keep it to the source material, either that or you're just bullshitting, or you don't even really know the source material, and that's just a
Right.
cover up for something else. You know what I
Because
mean?
the source material always changes, man. It
I,
always changes. When it even comes to that argument of sticking to the source material, the reason why Superman, the reason why Batman, the reason why Spider-Man, the reason why some of these characters are popular the way that they are is because like Superman has been around, you just said it, since 1938. Clark Kent is always going to be Superman, but the only reason why DC editorial would have a reason to want to kill him off and try to introduce other characters named Superman is because they got to a point to where they done too much with the character. The character had been around long enough in that current form to where it was stale and treading water. So they had to make him go away in order to make the readers either accept something different or create a demand high enough to want to see that character come back, and then after the character come back have fresher and newer ideas. Batman got his back broken in Nightfall and was on the shelf for a little bit. He wasn't going
yeah,
nowhere. In
right.
the history of comic books in general, how many times have characters died? So how many funerals for your favorite comic book character have you seen printed on page?
Countless.
Only for that to either be retconned, rebooted, or whatever, and then have an issue number one come out where that character comes back, and you're happy to see him again. Like sometimes the shit ain't that serious. And the question that I want to ask, or the question that I want to pose, is what harm is done by having a Middle Eastern woman as Miss Marvel? What harm is done by that? What agenda is being pushed? What is the source of your discomfort with that? What is it about seeing that makes someone so uncomfortable to where comic books are ruined forever? I
Yeah,
want
yeah.
I want explanations behind these statements. I don't want people to just make statements and not stand by them. I want to know. I want somebody to tell me how Captain America being black is un-American or is
Oof,
anti-American or
oof.
is virtue signaling or overly woke. I want an explanation as to why. Put it in words, think about it, and tell me in a way that reflects critical thinking as to why that's an issue. If you can't do that, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to have a conversation with you because like again, you're exposing yourself as a person that I don't need to be talking to. And I'm not saying this from a standpoint of like moral or intellectual superiority because if I was that fucking smart, I would have been figured out a way to get a bag. You know what I'm saying? If I
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
was if I was that fucking smart, but like I'm just keeping it real. I want somebody to look me in my eyes and tell me that. How is the level of discomfort that somebody feels behind a Captain Marvel or whatever behind the movie. I've never seen the movie, but whether it was a good movie or not is beside the point. But I want to know how that is pushing an agenda that you feel is harmful. Because if that's a conversation that people want to have, I'll have that conversation and I'll point out things that I feel are pushing certain agendas. But until then, shut the fuck up.
It's forced. Oh, did you give him a chance? Did you give the character time to breathe, to settle in a little bit? You know, these anime characters come out, they be having 50 to 100 books before they even pop in the mainstream. Did you give them some proper allotted time to give them a chance to develop and to breathe into something you actually like? I mean, a lot of these, like we said before, a lot of these characters, Thorn, John Stewart, Luke Cage, if they were created in today's time and age, you wouldn't give them a fucking chance at all to develop into these great characters that they are now.
Nope.
You wouldn't have done it. You would have been like, this is forced. Cut them out right now. Give them a chance. So I mean, it is confusing, man. It is freaking weird how it feel a level of a Middle Eastern like or Pakistani girl becoming a superhero, and it's being pushed. She's getting Vince McMahon pushed for the title, and it's appealing to a certain fans out there, trying to appeal to certain fans, where you roll your eyes at this, at this championship push, but the other matches are still good, and not like it
Yeah.
erases the legacy of your favorite wrestler. It's still
Nope.
there. It's still on WWE Network. You can always go back,
Right.
rewatch Stone Cold winning the championship multiple times. You know what
And
I
if it
mean?
doesn't,
So
and here's the thing, right? Because it's a business, if it doesn't work, eventually they're gonna move away from it. Yeah, if it doesn't work, if it doesn't affect the bottom line in the way that they want it to, well, guess what? We're gonna take the belt off Ultimate Warrior and put it right back on Hulk Hogan.
hell yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Hell yeah, dude.
You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm talking about, brother.
Yeah, like, bro, you know what I'm saying? That's why when he pinned Hulk Hogan, Hogan stood in the middle of the ring for 5 minutes after the match was over and took forever to give him the fucking belt because he knew he was getting that shit back.
Oh yeah.
Like
Eh,
that's what it is. It's still business, but you can't knock. I'm not gonna knock Marvel Comics for at least attempting to let let another demographic or let people know, hey, you know what I'm saying? Yes, for a long time, this is what the idea of what a superhero we thought looked like. But not everything is gonna stick to the wall. Like the counter argument that I'm gonna have, not the counter argument, but the counterpoint to what you were saying there. If there was a Rambo movie that came out in 2019, if I'm not mistaken,
mm,
if Sylvester Stallone was playing the part of John Rambo since the 1980s, since the Reagan era, you had Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was a big star in the 80s during the Reagan era. You had Bruce Willis, who was the action hero during that time. If we
yeah.
just were to erase, if we were to erase Rambo, Die Hard, I'm not really gonna say Terminator because I mean Sarah Connor was always the hero in Terminator. But
Yeah.
if we were to erase Predator, these high testosterone fueled movies inspired by the Reagan era where white guy saves the world is basically the premise of these movies. You have these masculine characters that make it out of every situation, whether it be by the skin of their teeth or through being a superior marksman or a superior fighter or just being the better man than the characters that they're fighting against. If Rambo First Blood were to come out now in the year 2020 with the same premise, have an actor fitting the same description, same storyline, all of that, it would be a flop.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
would be a fucking flop. If Die Hard, which is still to this day probably the greatest action movie ever made, I can say that. Die Hard is one of the greatest action movies ever made. But if it comes out in 2020 and you're still telling the story of John Connor against foreign terrorists in LA on Christmas Eve, it doesn't hit the same because it's not believable anymore. It's not believable. So a lot of these things aren't really consistent. So the counterpoint to that is a lot of these dudes who feel like a Miss Marvel or Asian American Hulk, or even like even going towards the future. As much as people bitched about Robert Pattinson being casted as Batman, imagine if that was Michael B. Jordan that got casted as the Batman.
Oh God, I'd have to get off social media, and yeah, I could be on YouTube, but dude, heads would be rolling right now, boy, and dude, yeah, it'd be
It
heated.
would be
It'd
it
be
would be
heated.
amazing though. It would be great if that happened.
It would be.
I would. Well, I'd be hyped up about it. A lot of people would be hyped up about it, but this vocal minority of guys on the internet would be bitching about it, man. Well, wasn't like, oh, well, you see Batman memes and a dashiki, bro. You see that all day long.
Yeah, for sure, dude.
But there's guys on the internet mad right now because that are in their feelings because allegedly Robert Pattinson didn't work out. What? Huh?
Huh?
Like
This guy's a pro, and you're questioning him because but oh, you have the acting chops to do a 5 minute YouTube video, no problem, right? Like,
because you heard that he didn't work out. Come on, man.
right.
Oh, all right, man.
The goal of you to criticize a professional actor who's got major talent. I mean, some of you guys are so, jeez, he's a Twilight vampire. I can't take it seriously. Just don't watch the movie. Just
Again, like I really don't want to do that though. I really do not want to get into that part of it, bro. Like the reason why I enjoy doing this, the reason why I think you enjoy content creating is a way to express yourself, but also even escape from what it is that you're doing in real life. You know what I'm saying? The
yeah.
conversations that me record are the same conversations that we used to have on post. Like,
Oh yeah.
so I don't ever want to. I don't ever want to get to the point where we're making content just to, you know what I'm saying, just to be a part of the problem or just to be a part of the argument. Because once we start being that kind of platform, it's almost like you're compromised, and then we're going for the okey doke as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. I mean, if you look at our track record, everyone who's listening, this is not just a channel about race bending and race talks about race. We review comics, we review movies, we talk about everything and anything that really hit that catches our attention. I mean, if that was so, every video we've done since that first race bending video we did, which had the most views we've had, we would have done a race bending video. You know what I'm saying? For the next couple, that's all we would have talked about. If we thought like,
Yeah.
oh, that had 300 views, we can just keep lurking into this and keep pulling until we get big. But that's not what we're all totally about. It's just sometimes we got sometimes that vocal minority gets so loud it just reaches you. You just want to address it in a way that I know it may seem like we're shitting on them, but and like we're holier than now, but we're not. I mean, we also have our own faults, our own things of criticizing, but it's almost to a sense of just checking and counterbalancing what's out there, trying to provide some levity to the situation, and maybe there's some certain things that need to be addressed that aren't being addressed. And
Yep.
like I think one of the things that I noticed was I'll go, one of the things I noticed was certain content creators are saying that these characters are like tokenized Morales, tokenized Hawkman, Hulk, tokenized Batwoman. We want original black characters, and this tokenism. And you look at the back catalog, and that's like all they're talking about. That's all. Everything is it's just negativity and complaining about race bending of only white characters being changed to black and not any other race. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, if you want this original black characters and you have the platform, why don't you try to introduce a solution to your crying need for original black characters? Why don't you try to help doing Kickstarters for black indie creators? You know what I'm
Ooh.
saying? Or why don't you highlight some indie talent out there that's doing some exceptional work, or highlight those original black characters that are already in the mainstream that are doing very well? But they don't do that. They don't do that. They only require you to take out the pitchforks, the tiki torches, and angry mob and to viewership and ratings. And they never really introduce a solution to the problem. And I think that's definitely I think that in itself is a problem when you only bitch and you only complain or you only whine and you only protest, you don't have any real solution to what you're talking about or highlighting the positive things that are happening, and it's just like this perpetual spiral towards just almost like nothingness to a certain degree. But maybe I'm
Uh,
just full of myself here or whatever. But let us know your point of view, because we're not closed-minded, willing to listen. And I'm like, hey, hit us up in the comment section. There's plenty to learn. We're not the end all, the be all of all this shit, man. We're just regular people shooting the breeze, and perspective and objectivity is a real thing. So let us know what you think. Hit us below in the comment section. We're out.